Now we're going to move on to the crossbars right here. We're going to leave the bars in place slash brackets. We're going to take the tins off where they go to that structural support. Got one here and one here. Now you can get a ratchet in there if you want to do it that way, or if you want to just flex the edge down, like I'm getting ready to do, you can put an extension and a socket on, back it out that way. Now I want to leave the latch assembly in place mainly because the cable actually goes through a hole that's drilled into the structural support. So then I'd have to fight with getting the cable off, routing it through, and then putting it back through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift it up and I'm going to sit it on top of the engine compartment. Now what I want to make sure is I've still got the battery hooked up. You can disconnect the battery and be fine, or what you can do is this. I'm just going to put something thick to go on top of the cable ends so that nothing can touch it and cross and arc anything to ground. So all I want to do is pick up now. Now, when you look over here, there's actually some supports that go to keep the radiator in place. One of them has that cable assembly on it. Just pick it straight up and reposition it. So now, we've still got it there. We didn't have to take the cable off, saved us some time, and now we're back to the radiator. And the structural support's been taken off. Now we got a lot more movement. Now, once you remove the upper structural support member, this is one of the support brackets for the radiator. It keeps it in place. One of the 10 millimeters we took off to the top goes directly through it. It's a plastic bracket. It's got a rubber insert. Make sure you take them both off if you're going to be replacing the radiator. And that's how they sit in there. Now, when you go back, you got to put the rubber on first because there's a slot or a raised area right there that goes into a slot on the radiator. So you'll have to take that out. Make sure you slide it over, line it up, then slide your plastic bracket on top. Otherwise, if you try to put the rubber on the bracket, you'll have to fight to get it on because that little raised area is going to prevent you. So definitely put the rubber on first and then the bracket. There's one on the passenger side, which is this one, and one on the driver's side. And like I said, the one on the driver's side has the hood release cable attached to it. The replacement radiator most likely will not come with this plastic piece right here. It just snaps on. Just pick it up. We're going to be reusing it. It's got a little guide. Kind of look to see how it went. We know we got a hole on this side, so we'll keep that on the driver's side. And it goes on this raised edge of the radiator, the fins. Just kind of line it up, put it inside the channel, press down. What it does, it gives it a way to block air from going over it and trying to make everything go through the front of it instead. So definitely reuse that. Now the condenser is still attached to the radiator, just snaps on. Right here is one of the releases that we've got to squeeze in on to release it. There's a cutout on this little bit of stamped aluminum that goes over a piece that sticks off the radiator. It's got two fingers. We've got to squeeze in on them. Once we squeeze in on them, we can push back. And then we can separate it. We got one on the driver's side, one on the passenger side. Once we got these released, we still need to pick up on the condenser because the bottom edge doesn't have any fasteners. It has like a U-shaped channel that it sits in. Once it sits in, then you lean it back to snap it in here. So we still got to release the passenger side, and then we need to lift up on the condenser to get it out of that track and away from the radiator. You saw me do the driver's side. Now the passenger side, in order to get access on these, like I said, you got to pull back on that plastic grill assembly. Don't pull excessively, just enough to get down in there. Once I pull it back, you can see that that's the release for this side. I've got it pulled back. I can go ahead and squeeze in on the fingers on this one. Push the radiator back towards the engine. Alright, so I showed you how to release the AC condenser from the radiator. Now, like I said, once we get it released, we've got to pick up. That's what I'm going to be doing now. I'm on the driver's side. Pick up and put it towards the front bumper, separate it from the radiator. Then I've got to move over to the passenger side and do the exact same thing. Now this particular vehicle has another cooler. It's not really a cooler per se, but it serves that purpose. We've got the AC condenser here, radiator on the back side. This line you see that goes from driver's side to passenger side is a power steering line. So we do have direct airflow across the front, so the air coming across that metal pipe right there will give some cooling effect. Now it attaches to the radiator the same exact way the condenser did. So you got to squeeze in on the locks. You can reach, once we get the AC condenser loose and push back, we get a lot more room up here. We can reach down there and squeeze it. If you've got to get some angle, needle nose pliers, or anything to get down in there, so be it. Squeeze on it and then pull them loose from the radiator. Otherwise, you have to take the front bumper off to get to them. But you should have plenty of room here to get down in here to mess with it. Like I said, you may not see it as well as you did up here, but it's the exact same procedure as releasing these. So if you know how to do these, you'll know how to do those. Alright, so we got the power steering line off the bottom edge of the radiator. We got the AC condenser off the other edge and the little track that it sits in. So now we can just grab the radiator, start picking up, and start working it out of its opening here. Now you got a few lines you got to clear. You got the AC lines over here you got to kind of reposition. And then we got the radiator up and out of the way. Now the radiator has two closeout panels that go on the sides, basically the cutouts go the same places as the condenser as far as the U-shaped channel, and they snap on as well. Sometimes it helps to take these off while it's still in the car so you can clear the AC lines better. It's not difficult to remove. You can do it in the car. If you want to fight with it and do it afterwards, so be it. Just definitely make sure you don't forget them. There's one for the driver's side as well. Now when you go to take those closeout panels off, like I said, they snap on. You've got a little plastic finger right here, like a lot of things we've worked on so far on this car, that you press down and then you lift up, get off the bottom track, pull it out of the way. Now the radiator has a total of 2 rubber bushings on the bottom, guide bushings. Now these go into the frame rail underneath the radiator support on the bottom edge of the vehicle. Now make sure your new radiator comes with these. If they don't, you need to get them off. It's a matter of rotating them. And there's a little plastic pins that they go over. Definitely reuse them. Now looking straight down, that circle you see right there, it's actually where the guide bushing for the bottom edge of that radiator goes in. This is the driver's side, and we move over to the passenger side, there's one over there as well. So when you go to sit the radiator back in place to its final position, make sure those guide bushings go in there. You need to put some grease around them so it guides down in there easily, so be it, but that's where they need to sit so that the bottom edge is secure. So there you go, removal of the radiator. Pretty cut and dry. A few things you need to look out for. Service information says that you should be taking the Freon out and taking the lines off. I don't see the need for it. As you saw in the video, I didn't, so that'll save you some time there. Make sure that cooler on the bottom for the power steering line that I mentioned, that little pipe, make sure it gets disconnected if your vehicle has that before you go to lift the radiator assembly up. Otherwise, it covers, like I said, the years 2008 to 2016, and that's a wide range, but the body style basically stayed the same, so did the removal of the radiator. So at this point, as for any kind of thumbs up on YouTube, don't forget to like me on Facebook, you can follow me on Twitter, and check me out on Instagram. If you got any comments or suggestions about today's video or anything Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram related, please feel free to email me at david@motorcitymechanic.com, and I'll try to get back to you in a timely manner. Once again, thanks for watching these videos.